Lord of the Rings Warhammer, or the Middle Earth strategy battle game, is arguably the best game Games Workshop ever has or will make. It's also one of the primary reasons that wargaming is just so popular today. But will it last forever? In an increasingly flooded marketplace, can Lord of the Rings Warhammer survive as a system more generally? And what about here on Zorpazorp? Over the past couple of months here at Zorpazorp, we've been diving deep into the Horus heresy, and it's prompted a whole range of comments from people anxious that I'm leaving Middle Earth behind, and with the Lord of the Rings Amazon series just around the corner, we could be about to see a huge change in our Middle Earth wargaming landscape. So if you're terrified I'm abandoning Middle Earth for 1,000,000 Space Marines, or you're desperate for your Middle Earth Zorpazorp fix, buckle up, because I'm about to expose some high-value secrets known only to the Zorpazorp Inner Circle. Now, as all long-time viewers will know, we have a whole raft of unfinished Middle-earth projects in the works, from the massive White City build through to the ruins of Dol Guldur from last Halloween. So not only are you guys going to get a nice little progress update on those, I'm also going to lift the lid on my plans for the system moving forwards and how our impending move to New Zealand is going to affect the channel. But before we dive into that sexy business, with Amazon's TV show just around the corner, let's have a chat about why this game has survived for so long, and ask the question, will it stand the test of time? The Lord of the Rings strategy battle game was launched way back in 2001 alongside the release of Peter Jackson's trilogy, and was the brainchild of former Games Workshop giant and prolific wargame designer Rick Priestley, and is almost solely responsible for catapulting Games Workshop into the market-dominating position it has now held for many years. The game was so insanely successful and generated so much capital for Games Workshop in its early years, Rick Priestley himself claims the company went through a period of messy and mismanaged growth, which changed the fiscal outlook of the company in the ensuing years. But regardless of the so-called corporate mismanagement of the Middle-earth revenue, there can be no doubt that it wildly succeeded in sweeping up an entire generation of new wargamers, with many players across the world who play Warhammer of one form or another getting their start with the Lord of the Rings strategy battle game, myself included. In fact, let me know down in the comments below what year you started wargaming and what system it was that drew you in. I'll bet for a whole bunch of you it was the Battle Games in Middle Earth serial magazine.
The Lord of the Rings, battle games in Middle Earth. Relive the battles and adventures of the Fellowship with this tabletop strategy game.
If you'd like more history on the beginnings of our great game, check out this amazing interview my mate Harry from the Battle Games in Middle Earth channel and Entmoot podcast did with Rick Priestley back in 2020. It is a fascinating watch.
So without Lord of the Rings, there would be no Warhammer, there would be no fantasy.
Since those early days, the game has gone through its ups and downs, experiencing a brief period of strength and then a huge fall-off after the Hobbit films, and with the game going through its darkest days in the mid-2010s, but after a brand new edition launched in 2018, spearheaded by Games Workshop's stalwart Adam Troke and his protege, Jay Clare, and is now safely in the hands of Jay, who is the lead writer, and Rob Alderman as head of product, the game is booming, with a solid player base worldwide and continued support from the Specialist Games department of Games Workshop. I was fortunate enough to finally meet the lads when Games Workshop flew me over to Warhammer World in May, and it was great to have a few beers and roll some dice with the guys. It was definitely one of my career highlights. Next time I'm over, I promise we'll find some more time to do some extra special stuff, but I literally could not be more confident of the capable hands stewarding our game into the future. Also, I know I've talked about it before, but I simply cannot pass up the opportunity to celebrate that I am now de facto world champion of the Middle Earth strategy battle game, because Jay's dice beat Jay in a game whilst I happened to be sitting across the table for him. Thanks for that, Jay. Good game. So why has this game lasted so long? Well, the obvious factor is of course the strength of the core intellectual property. Lord of the Rings and Middle Earth is probably the greatest work of fiction ever conceived, and it is timeless beyond compare, finding new audiences with every subsequent generation, and Peter Jackson's film trilogies are utter cinematic masterpieces, so the world is constantly bringing people to the game. But the game itself is also very, very good. It's easy enough that anyone can pick it up quickly, but at the same time, it's one of the most beautifully nuanced systems, and it is incredibly tricky to master. It is the embodiment of the adage, easy to learn, hard to master. There are several key factors that really elevate the game, in my opinion. The generalship on the table is far more important than the tactics of list building, and the game itself creates a bizarre applicability of real-world military tactics. This is mostly because the high ratio of movement to damage output creates a huge focus on the positioning of units rather than just what their profile can do, and that just creates intensely rewarding gameplay. Now, I'm sure you guys have heard of Manscaped and their amazing performance package bundle, including their Lawnmower 4.0 waterproof body hair trimmer, but this is actually the 4th time that Manscaped have sponsored Zorpazorp, and this time they have sent me my absolute favorite product. Their new collection of anti-chafing, high-performance boxer briefs. I never thought I could be so excited about underwear, but they are so comfortable. I've literally thrown out all of my other underwear and asked Manscaped to send me a whole bunch more of them. There are now more than 6 color combinations to choose from, suited for business or pleasure, and you can pick up single units or bundle up and save with their new 3-pack options over at manscaped.com. They look super sleek, but the reason these bad boys are so comfy is the new dual pouch design, a dedicated space that cradles you with a perforated performance fabric for extra breathability. Go to manscaped.com today to get 20% off plus free international shipping when you use the code ZORP at checkout. Your balls will thank you. But is this wonderful world of Middle-earth all about to come crashing down? With the Amazon TV series just around the corner, speculation is running rampant across the internet on how Amazon's TV show is going to impact our game. And one kind of common thread I've noticed across the corners of the World Wide Web is a whole lot of people claiming authority on things they know absolutely nothing about. So, here is a list of the facts we know about the nature of Amazon's merchandising potential for the Middle-earth strategy battle game. Pretty long list, isn't it? So is it possible for Games Workshop to make models for the new show? Well, we just don't know. Games Workshop currently licensed the film's intellectual property from New Line Cinema, now a subsidiary of Time Warner, and the TV show is being made by Amazon, so they'd need a whole new license, right? Well, most likely. Even though New Line never owned any of the TV rights, which Amazon have ended up licensing from the Tolkien estate, both New Line and HarperCollins publishers are all involved in this $250 million rights agreement, which Matt Gelser, the architect of the deal and representative of the Tolkien estate, described as the most complicated deal he'd ever seen. The Hollywood Reporter claimed in April of 2018 that New Line were brought into the deal so that Amazon could use material from the films within the TV show. So it's possible that some of the design aesthetics from our game are going to end up quite congruent with or even appear in the show, so the feel of any new models might match quite well. But as the show is pretty close to launching and we haven't heard anything yet, if I had to guess, and this is strictly my own personal opinion, I would say the Games Workshop won't be making any moves on the property until they've seen the reception of the first season. Although this could open a little bit of a bidding war up if other companies try to use the show's popularity to change Games Workshop's market hold, like Asmodee and Fantasy Flight Games did with Star Wars Legion. So, in short, the Amazon TV show, Middle-earth strategy battle game, it's all just a watch this space. So the game is in a strong position globally, but what about here at Zorpazorp? Is the Middle-earth strategy battle game about to be abandoned in the favor of a million space marines? No, of course not. I love the Horus Heresy, it's a fantastic universe and an amazing system. But Middle-earth will always be the primary foundation and platform of Zorpazorp. Obviously, there's been a brand new Heresy edition, so there's been a bit of a bubble of content, a bit of a focus on the new system, which is going to happen from time to time on the channel, and especially with this new Heresy campaign, I've been trying to do something that's really never been done before on YouTube, really shake up the format, and I'm really proud of it. Unfortunately, it probably hasn't been as well received with my core audience as I'd hoped, which means that the algorithm is definitely burying it a little, which is pretty heartbreaking in a way, but I promise for you Middle-earth diehards, there is some amazing Middle-earth content coming. I cannot wait to show it to you. So let's pull back the curtains and let you guys see some of the inner workings of Zorpazorp and give you a little taste of some of the excitement to come. The biggest factor of the future is of course our impending move to New Zealand. In case you somehow missed it, Zorpazorp is officially moving to Middle Earth. Larissa and the kids and I will be sailing into the east just before Christmas, which is going to create some epic content opportunities for next year, which we'll be talking about in a bit, but it does set an immediate deadline for several key projects. When we first move over, I won't be able to take my massive collection of scenery with me. Most of it's going to go into storage, although I am going to make a video soon about going through all of it and selling some pieces off that I kind of no longer need, so stay tuned for that. I think it's going to be really fun. But that means that any half-finished projects need to be completed before we go. The biggest example of this is of course our Dol Guldur build from last Halloween and the White City mega build. Now, the Dol Guldur board is a long-term project that will eventually be 12 feet long, so I'm definitely not going to bother building any more structure, as I'll just have to end up shipping that eventually, but this first portion I'd love to have fully finished before I go, including the interior dungeon and the Forests of Mirkwood around the structure, and then of course a nice fortress paint job. Then of course there is the White City. Now this is a long-term project, which in all likelihood won't be finished for a long time yet, like years and years, but I need to get this build to a point where it's ready to hold our first massive siege. And it's not really that far away, and I'm happy to report that there's a whole host of work already being done behind the scenes. The second round of the Fellowship of the Zorp is in full swing with heaps of sexy Middle-earth buildings getting made by other YouTubers from around the world, and I'd love to take a sec to talk about some amazing reinforcements for the White City that are on the way. 3 channels, J-Max Armies of Middle-earth, Windrush Wargamers, and Paints on a 4-Up have made some gorgeous Fiefdoms Gondor troops, and their videos are all live right now if you want to see the painting journeys of getting these really awesome units for Gondor together. I'll link them down in the description. These are some incredible reinforcements for the White City. So the board is growing and the armies are growing too. The last part of the build I'd really like to tackle is some more work on Osgiliath, try and get the big juicy resin pour finished, and maybe build an extra block or 2 of the city, and then that board would be completely ready for our mental siege. But amongst all that, we've got the big move to New Zealand along with research trips, so it's going to be a pretty cramped schedule for the rest of this year, but once we get there and we're settled in, oh boy does the fun begin. The huge dream for me content-wise is to make and build huge scenery layouts for Middle-earth in the filming locations they were originally shot. I think I've decided on my first 2 projects once we hit the ground, Amon Hen and Edoras. But beyond these 2 ideas, I've been dreaming up a campaign of linked content as epic as what I'm doing right now with the Horus Heresy, but for Middle-earth, with a bigger focus on hobby and crafting, but with some gaming mixed in. It's going to involve some epic boards, amazing Middle-earth locations, and a big old camper van, and maybe just a few special guests to join me for the journey, but we'll have to wait and see. Now, I don't want to give too much away for the kind of really long-term plans, often because my plans can change. I like to have all of these amazing big dreams, and sometimes they all don't happen in the order or at the same time as I think they're going to originally, but also I just don't want to take away the surprise because there's some crazy stuff coming. I'm so excited to finally move to New Zealand, to Middle Earth, to get there and to make some stuff that I think you guys are going to lose it, man. It's gonna be awesome. I'm so excited. But anyway, I hope you guys enjoyed this video. It's obviously a different format. I do like to do these kind of video essays every now and then. I really enjoy putting them together, actually, and it feels like a lot more of a kind of dialogue between me and you guys rather than, you know, working on a project or something. So I really enjoy that. If you guys liked this format, let me know down in the comments below. Maybe I'll do some more. If you think of any other cool topics you'd like me to cover, definitely let me know. And I hope that that was a cool little update for everyone who's keen to find out what's happening with Middle Earth. And let me know which of my Middle Earth projects you're keen to sort of see first or next, because obviously there's a lot on the boil, so there's lots of options of where I bring back first. Anyway, thank you so much for watching. I will see you guys in the next one right here on Zorpazorp. Cheers.